Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise to address this House on the progress my ministry is making on occupational health and safety, and also raise some concerns and areas that we want to focus on in relation to occupational health and safety in the interest of everybody in our country. The importance of occupational health and safety lies around the fact that it's related to human life. And human life is always important to everybody. It's important to government, it's important to everybody in our country. But it's not only important for the fact that the impact that it has on human life, but also it's been proven in some research provided internationally that every $1 you spend on safety and health, $1 that you invest in safety and health, has a $2 return in positive economic benefits. So there is a strong linkage also between occupational health and safety in workplaces and in a country, and economic benefits, and therefore in terms of productivity. The legislation that we have in Fiji, the Health and Safety at Work Act, was basically designed to be a change agent, legislation for change. And it tried to ensure that we have safe management practices in the workplaces, and also to have participation for both employees, employers, and also the government to be able to develop those safe workplaces. Every day internationally around the world, there's about 6,300 people that die every day as a result of occupational accidents or work-related diseases. So this means that we have about 2.3 million deaths annually around the world. And there are also around the world, there are around 374 million non-fatal work-related injuries and illnesses. Many of these then lead to extended absences from work, because even if people don't die, if they're injured, they're either away from work, you have the issues of absenteeism, and that in turn has an impact on life and productivity. In terms of the economic cost of all of this globally, the economic burden of poor occupational safety and health practices is estimated at 3.94% of global GDP, almost 4% of GDP is lost because of these OHS issues. Around the world, there's a focus on improving OHS around the world, and here in Fiji, we also have that emphasis on trying to improve the health and safety of all of the workers that we have. That is why, in my ministry, we have a lot of continued discussions with our National OHS Advisory Board, Occupational Health and Safety Advisory Board, that is tripartite in nature, as representatives of workers, representatives of employers, and also representatives of government. So it's basically an institutionalized Talanoa mechanism that we have as part of the occupational health and safety. Within the legislation that we have a focus both on proactive measures to try to create an environment in which we can have these safe workplaces, and also a whole range of reactive systems. If something goes wrong, then you have a whole system of measures and fines and penalties and so forth to try to rectify situations where things have gone wrong. So there's a range of program and tools that we use: training, awareness programs, OHS committees. So I'd like to address some of these issues. On the proactive side, the basic philosophy of the legislation is to get the parties to become self-regulating. Not for government to be the one that is forever going around trying to regulate each party, workers to regulate themselves, employers to regulate themselves, and in this way we get better regulated workplaces. One of the major tools that has been used since the implementation of the Act back in 1996 is to make it mandatory that any workplace that has at least more than 20 employees is required to have an occupational health and safety committee, a workplace mandated committee. These committees then work to try to make sure that the workplace is safe. They make sure that all the requirements, all the statutes are met, and also may scan their own workplaces to identify where there are hazards and risks and take action to address these. In 2017, back from 2015, we have had around 940 such committees registered. This will continue to be a focus of the ministry so that we can have that proactive approach. Other than having the committees in place, there is also a focus on inspection. Inspecting the kinds of things on which people work to make sure that they are fully functional, well functioning, so that when people use those machines, use that equipment, it reduces the likelihood of injuries. These will include inspections on things like plants and equipment such as passenger lifts, escalators, pressure vessels, and lifting equipment. Our officers go and inspect them to make sure that they are up to standard. And inspection of plants and machineries, this has been fluctuating over the past few years. In 2016, a total of around 7,090 units was inspected, and this number decreased by 286 units in 2017. One of the challenges that we have faced, that we have constantly faced within the ministry that we are trying to address, is the challenge of high number of late reporting and non-reporting of workplace accidents at construction sites. So we require companies to report accidents. One of the problems that we have is that a lot of these accidents are not reported, or they're reported very late, so it becomes very difficult to try to address them. Employers therefore need to come on board and make sure that they do report accidents or near misses when they do take place. The third area in which there's a lot of proactive action is taking place is vetting plans for buildings. When there are changes to buildings or the construction of buildings, the plans need to be vetted to make sure that they have OHS compliant workplaces. 2017, there are around 426 workplace plans that were assessed compared to 390 workplace plans vetted in 2016. Increase in the number, we believe, was due to the vetting of plans on the rehabilitation following the devastation caused by Tropical Cyclone Winston. In terms of OHS promotions, we delivered more than 100 OHS training and awareness programs to employers and organizations in 2017. This is training in which we are telling employees and management staff about their responsibilities, what they need to do to make sure that workplaces are safe. The ministry also does a lot of training on its own, but it tries to build a pool of trainers that are out there in industry who can do training on their own, so that we don't rely on our own stuff, but we have a larger group of people that is conducting training. So the ministry then accredits the training accredits external OHS trainers. That accreditation training will continue, and it assists the ministry in spreading the OHS gospel to all workplaces in Fiji. Over the past three years, we've accredited around 40 of these OHS trainers. And this will in turn allow us to raise awareness of the importance of OHS and also the competence of those that are involved. The ministry also goes out and actually inspects workplaces where it is felt that there's something wrong with the machinery or how they're dealing with OHS issues. And when this happens, we issue notices which require the workplaces to improve something to reduce occupational safety and risks in the workplace. Around 213 of these notices have been issued in the year 2017, and you will be able to continue to focus on these ones. When OHS is poor, what comes out of this is workplace injuries. Workplace injuries is always a major thing that we focus on. Workplace injuries continue to be a concern for my ministry, with a total of 1,443 injury cases reported in 2017. This is equal to 361 lost working days per month, or 4,329 days lost working days for 2017. Because when somebody is injured, he cannot work. When he cannot work, that means he's absent, wages still has to be paid, so there's a loss of productivity in the company. That's something that we need to get in control of. I've already talked about the issue of late reporting of cases, and we have noticed that there have been cases that have been reporting to the ministry. The law requires employers to report injuries within 14 days and deaths within 7 days. But we are seeing quite a number of cases that are being reported to us after 1 or 2 years. That makes it very difficult to address the injury or to address these cases. In 2017, cases reported late accounted for 29% of recorded cases. So it's not a small percentage, it's quite a significant percent. So this is something we also need employers to take note of, and for them to report cases quickly to the ministry. There's also been an increase in the number of compensation cases reported to us over the years as information and knowledge on rights at work has increased. So we've noticed that claims for compensation has risen as there's more awareness built up within workers that they have an ability to be able to claim for this. It's important for them, however, to claim within 3 years, because there's only a 6-year
time window within which each individual workers' compensation case can be dealt with. In 2017, there were 7 workplace deaths. In 2016, there were 6. 2015, there were 11. In 2014, there were 5. And 2013, there were 6. So the number of workplace deaths has hovered between around 5 to 7, except in the year 2015 when it jumped up to 11. So that is also a statistic that we hope, we want to try to improve on. So there have been improvements in workplace health and safety, but a lot of challenges still exist. There's still a major challenge in educating people, educating employers, educating workers, and we are always encouraging employers to identify where they have risks in their place of employment and to control these risks. Control the risks so you can resolve OHS issues and prevent serious accidents and deaths at the workplace. A lot of the focus in the past within my ministry and the OHS has been on the occupational safety. Now we're beginning to turn more to the issue of occupational health, the health of the worker himself. So there's been a lot of focus on fixing the workplace. Now there needs to be a lot more focus on addressing the health of that worker who is in that workplace. It has been reported that 80% of deaths in the Pacific are because of NCDs. I think the Honorable Minister for Health talked about earlier on this week that 30% of our population is obese and another 30% is overweight. So 60%, 6 out of 10 of everybody, of all workers, is either obese or overweight. And a lot of these NCDs are things, the causes of which are things that is in our control. They are reversible. A lot of the causes are reversible, things that we can do something about. They can be reversed through healthy living, self-discipline, healthy eating and exercise. And within the workplace programs, there are things that we need as employers, all of us, as employers, things that we need to address. Catering standards, what kind of food we provide in catering. And doctors always say, half of your plate should be fruits and vegetables. So I think also in Parliament here, half of that table should be fruits and vegetables, rather than 10% or 15%. These are things that we can do within our own homes. Catering standards, exercise, the need for people to move their bodies. Maybe we should stand up more during Parliament and move our bodies while listening to debates. Stress management, work-life balance. People can be very fit, eating the right food, they're not sleeping enough, they get sick, they die. And we always see cases like that. And one of the important things about NCDs, good to see the exercise already take place on that side. The important thing about NCDs, it is not when you have injuries, you lose productivity because of absence. But people can still be coming to work and have all the NCDs and they cannot fully function. So they are there but not there. And this problem is called presentism. Presentism, you are present but you are not fully functional. Huh? Present but not fully functional. When I'm looking at that side, I'm not saying that you are not fully functional, but I'm saying that that can happen. So, Madam Speaker, my ministry is now working closely with stakeholders such as the Ministry of Health and Medical Services, Fijian National University, WHO and the ILO to share knowledge and resources improving workers' health. This becomes very important for us. We are now developing policies and programs on a national strategy on occupational health. Last year in 2017, we had Fiji's first ever occupational health and safety profile. It was launched, and as a result of that, we have had a number of OHS trainings and workshops successfully held with a range of stakeholders. There's also been capacity building workshops on occupational hygiene. Occupational hygiene means using science and engineering to look at, to see how we can prevent ill health caused by the environment that people work in. On occupational hygiene, that was organized by the WHO, supported by ILO and other stakeholders to train medical practitioners, health workers and OHS inspectors on this topic of occupational hygiene. So there's a strong focus on the health of the workers themselves. And as we all know, in terms of productivity, your human resource, their ability, what they can do, their time, how well they want to work, their commitment to work, this is the greatest source of your productivity. If they are not fully functional, if they're there but they're not there, you're not going to get the optimal output that you could get from out of them. Over and above that, over the past, I think over the past years, there's also been a lot of emphasis on the impact of asbestos on our life. You know that if you have one single strand of fiber of asbestos that gets into your lungs, it can lead to cancer. So over these past 12 months, There's been a lot of collaboration with stakeholders on asbestos. We have held Fiji's first ever symposium on asbestos in December last year to teach stakeholders, to equip stakeholders with the right knowledge about asbestos. And from these meetings, we are now developing with stakeholders a draft roadmap for the elimination of asbestos in Fiji to see how we can remove it. We have a lot of asbestos in a lot of all the old buildings that we have, but I know the new buildings that are coming up, they do not use them as insulation. Another area there's been a lot of focus on, Madam Speaker, is in the area of diving. The diving industry, for the diving industry, we have developed the diving regulations that tries to make sure that those that are employed in diving or those that come for recreational diving, they are working in an environment where the gear is up to par so that they might not suffer injuries or, die while they are diving. We have had 3 consultation trainings in this particular area, and this was to raise awareness and educate the dive employers, the dive operators, the suppliers of dive equipment and the owners of dive equipment and dive personnel in the commercial, recreational and scientific diving industry in Fiji. As part of our commitment also on safety at the workplace, we are also working with stakeholders, including the Ministry of Mineral Resources, on the mining and quarrying industry, occupational safety, because that is a sector that we will also want to be able to target or working together with that particular ministry. Madam Speaker, in conclusion, safe and healthy working conditions, they are not only a legal obligation, they are a moral obligation. All of us are morally bound to make sure that the places in which people are employed are safe for the people to be employed there. And they, not only that, they also improve economic benefits. Investments in safety and health at workplace avoids human suffering and protects our most valuable asset, human beings, the health of human beings, their physical and psychological integrity. That is absolutely fundamentally important for all of us. It also has a positive impact on the motivation of employees. If employees are working in an environment in which they know that their lives will not be harmed, it is more likely that they will give their full contribution to that workplace. If they are forever worried about getting injured, they'll not be able to give fully of themselves to the workplace. And as a result, productivity will be not as high as it could be. It also has a positive impact on motivation of employees and therefore also on the quality of work and products, on a company's reputation, and on the satisfaction level of employees, managers and customers, and on economic benefits. And as I've mentioned before, international research on the return of investments in prevention proves that every dollar invested in safety and health generates a potential benefit of more than $2 in positive economic benefits. So investing in the health of your workers, investing in making sure that they have a safe working environment is not only good for them personally, in the long term it is good for employers because it has a direct bearing on the bottom line, has a direct bearing on productivity and on the bottom line. Healthy working conditions contribute to healthy businesses and work environment. Madam Speaker, accidents at work and occupational disease, they are not determined by fate, nor are they unavoidable. They always have causes. By building a strong prevention culture, these causes can be eliminated and work-related accidents, harm and occupational disease can be prevented. Later on in the month of April, we will be commemorating the World Occupational Health and Safety Day on the 28th of April 2018, and I urge all members of Parliament, employers, workers, members of the public watching from home to mark this date and ensure that they participate. And this is an opportunity to raise awareness on OHS at a national platform and examine ways in which we can help each other in the reduction of workplace accident, disease and deaths. And I invite all members of Parliament to take the lead in this, in terms of all the things that I've talked about, to go out there and talk about it for ourselves in the communities that we interface with. Thank you, Madam Speaker.